So this is episode 10 with Lauren Castaño. Is that correct?
Castaño, yes. That is correct.
She is at Love and Tequila on Instagram. And so give us a little short bio about yourself.
Sure. So I guess to sum it up as short as I can be, this is my 22nd year in the bar that I work in. And it all started, I was in college to be a teacher, and I started bartending and waiting tables when I was in school to be a teacher. So I've always been in the industry for a very long time, about 32 years now. So I don't know, this bar was a little different. It was a lot of fun. And I graduated, became a teacher. I wanted to save the children of Boca Raton, Florida. So shortly I got my, what?
I said, do they need saving, the children of Boca?
They do. Believe it or not, I worked at the poorest school in Boca. So, but anyway, so I had this crusade to be, this amazing teacher or whatever. So I got a job, and I just didn't want to give up my shift. So I kept a couple shifts, and then I soon realized, I knew getting into teaching that I wasn't going to make any money, but when you actually are feeling the reality of that, I realized that I definitely wanted to keep my shift. So long story short, fast forward, I got pregnant with my son. And by the time I had him, I was just burned out after 10 years of bartending, tutoring, and teaching in the classroom. And ultimately, I just wanted to stay home with him. And when he was about 4 months old, I went back to the bar. And this time I just kind of felt in my heart that, that I was kind of done with teaching. I was burned out, and I was just kind of ready to throw it in. And, everybody thought I was crazy. All my teacher friends, my principal of my school was just like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to be a bartender. No, but I just wanted to stay home. It was just convenient for me to stay home with my kid and, pick up a few nights. And it was kind of like I was just getting out of the house, and slowly but surely, all of a sudden I became very passionate about the bar. I was very passionate in my classroom, and then, the roles kind of reversed. So I took on this whole new role behind the bar. And my journey kind of started with agave spirits, and I just started taking it a lot more serious, and here I am. So that's kind of the nitty gritty of, kind of where it started. So.
That's good. And it's been in Boca the whole time, right?
Yeah, I'm from North Carolina.
You've been in Boca,
from Charlotte. Yeah, but I've been in Boca for about 25 years now. So yeah, I'm a nice little sweet Southern girl coming down to South Florida, and that was a very big change for me. I come from a place where, people have manners, they ask you how you're doing, and I come to South Florida, and I pull up into the first grocery store, and there's valet parking for, it was just, a crazy, eye opener for me. But, I adjusted, and here I am. I've rooted myself, and, I met my husband here. So yeah.
That's good.
So, but yeah.
I actually was a teacher down in Broward County for a while before I came up here. So similar thing. I went to Broward County from Ohio. I was a teacher in Cleveland before I went down to Broward. It was a whole new world. It's not the same that I was used to in Ohio, but it was. I liked it. I liked the diversity. I liked the culture. I liked how different it was down there. And I'm sure in North Carolina you had a similar experience between North Carolina and Boca, which actually I still go down there frequently all the time when I'm going to Dolphins games.
Nice.
Love it.
All right. Nice. Very nice.
So
you have that teaching experience as well.
Yeah.
So with you being a bartender, and some of the aspects that we have on the podcast are security related. Any recommendations for safety of women in the industry? Like, any tips that you can give those aspiring women that want to be bartenders, or or those that are already bartenders and maybe they just need some assistance in security?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, any situation can potentially be a danger, especially when there's alcohol involved. I've seen many fights, happen, and, I know my biggest lesson that I've learned is just to stay out of it. Just kind of like, you're going to have thick skin behind the bar, and just, there's some things you're just going to have to brush off because it's not worth it. And, this day and age, people are pulling out guns on people for the dumbest things. So I've just learned that, as a woman, especially, I don't want someone waiting for me, after my shift. That it's just, always best to get a manager or get someone else involved. And, I definitely also make sure I'm always, very mindful of my surroundings, especially leaving. We don't close super late, but, if there's a crowd at the bar, I'm definitely staying open. So I'm always very mindful of having someone walk me to my car, and just being mindful of your surroundings. And, the past 22 years, I've really gotten good at reading people. I can tell right away within 5 minutes when someone's a little, when they sit down, what kind of mood they're in, if they're not feeling okay, if they're emotionally just not okay. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people not emotionally okay, especially that come into bars. You just gotta learn how to keep your distance, and you can still be polite and nice, but I don't know. I guess those are my biggest tips.
And what would you say is probably one of the worst incidents that you've seen?
I guess fights. I hate when fights happen. And there hasn't been many. It's not like we're a bar that like people fight all the time, but there's been quite a few. I had a manager get his nose broken. And it was the night before Thanksgiving too, so it was a crazy night, and it was all over. Believe it or not, it was a table full of kids, and it was like a travel soccer team, and the guy that was in charge of them, like the father of the group or whatever, was like, get us all tequila shots. And I was like, sure, you have IDs? And, they were kind of fumbling, really didn't have IDs. And I think a few of them were fake. I can't remember the whole thing, but basically I was like, yeah, I'm not going to serve you. And then the dad was like, pretty much like, you're going to serve them. And I was like, no, I'm not, so it became this whole tension between him and I. And my first mistake was that I engaged back with him, and he ended up calling me like a horrible name. And instead of just kind of brushing it off and letting it go, I was like, fuck that. And I, ran my mouth at him. And before I knew it, it was like, a big brawl, So the lesson learned was that, like, I should defend my honor and my name, but at the end of the day, all that wasn't worth it. I was doing my job, and if I would have just gotten a manager, he could have easily been escorted, and all that would have been avoided, right? I'm not saying that was my fault, but so.
Yeah, so you're saying it's not like Roadhouse?
No.
It's not quite.
No, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to deal with stuff like that anymore. Yeah, no.
And as a bartender, what about advice?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. And as a bartender, what about advice for like when the ladies are out and they're the customers, they're having a good time. We always hear these nightmare stories of drinks getting spiked. It's like, I always tell my daughter, you're not quite old enough yet, but if you end up in a bar, because I'm not stupid, I don't have my head in the sand, don't accept don't accept a drink that just gets walked over to you from some guy. Make sure you, like, the bartender makes it. If you go to the bathroom, let the bartender know. Yeah. So what kind of advice for the ladies that are out and enjoying the night, or if they're out with a strange dude?
To piggyback on that, definitely. I mean, I never leave a full drink. I know sometimes women will ask me to watch their drink, and I totally don't mind. I'll just take it and put it behind the bar. But even that, you don't know, who you're dealing with. But, everything that you just said is like key, most important. I don't know. I just thought of this customer that I have now, and her big thing is like she likes to come in and like basically, seek out who is going to pay her tab, and I can't stand that, and I think that's so dangerous too, just because
Oh,
like you're
yeah,
putting yourself in a
yeah.
situation where it's I'm paying your tab now. What are you giving me? I don't know. I just feel like that's just if you can't
Yeah.
afford to go out and pay your own tab, if it's I don't know. I just like
Maybe don't go out. Yeah.
Have
don't
you
go out.
seen
Yeah.
men? Yeah. Have you seen men victimized? Have you seen the men? I've heard of men getting their drinks spiked too. Just people are just being assholes and they just put stuff in drinks and the guys aren't looking.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that story. I've heard a couple people tell me they felt like they were, drugged. Um, I mean, we're a very small bar, and I would like to think that's never happened in our bar. I don't know of anybody ever feeling like that and like something happened like that with a female
Right.
or male. But that is pretty, it's pretty scary. I mean, because it happens.
I actually, and I never told you guys this, in college, it actually happened to me.
Mm.
Summertime, school's out. The football players used to always go to summer school so we can work on all that stuff. And I go out one night during the week, met a girl in the bar that I knew. She was roommates with her roommate. We used to talk to one of my roommates. She bought me a drink, and within 3 sips of that drink, I was like, she got me. And I can drink. Within 3 sips, I was like, she got me. And that was it. That was it.
So
I was like,
did
this
she
is
just leave
something
you there?
No, that's not how it ended.
He woke up the next morning
I woke up
in a science experiment.
In a bathtub.
I woke up.
He's missing a kidney.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a 911 note. You're on ice. Call 911.
Yeah, I woke up maybe 5-6 hours later.
Wow.
Maybe 5-6 hours later, and I had never got to the point where I didn't actually sleep. I just couldn't move. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. And I was maybe 21, 22, young man, football player. I can't explain the thoughts that were going through my head. I couldn't. It was the most unreal thing I'd ever been through my entire life.
What was the motive behind her doing this?
That's what I was wondering.
Power.
Interesting. There's not a lot of sociopathic traits in the female on the female side of the species.
Just somebody maybe she had been taken advantage of before. I don't know. But it was probably. And I woke up and I couldn't wrap my head around what just happened. And so years later, maybe 2 or 3 years later, my dad ran a restaurant in Cleveland, and I was visiting him one night at bar at his restaurant, and she was in there. And I said, I'm going to confront this girl because I woke up and left and never saw her or talked to her again. Talked to her years later. I saw her years later at the bar.
Wow.
And it was like, I told my father about it. I said, hey, Dad,
Did you confront her?
I didn't have to. When she saw me,
She was out.
she knew she was out. And I might have, she was just out.
Yeah.
So I might have maybe had all my drinks for the rest of the night put on her tab because she left before it was closed. my own little retribution. But yeah, it's a horrible thing. And it does happen to guys. Yeah. They just don't talk about it for a number of social reasons.
It's happened to me twice.
Yeah.
Both in foreign countries. One was in Japan and one was in Thailand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it does happen. It does happen to guys way more than you would think.
Knock on wood.
And it's the exact same ending that you would assume happens to women. It's unbelievable.
Well, and the thing is too is that like we were just talking about how there's rules of like just like common sense rules, like don't leave your drink, that kind of stuff. But like at the end of the day, sometimes you have those nights where maybe you're drinking a little more than you normally do, and you're when that happens, kind of our common sense kind of goes out the window a little bit. At least we're not as safe, and
Yeah, and in that situation, especially on college campuses, one of the things people don't realize is there's not as much stranger danger as people think there is. Most of most of these type of assaults and things happen from people that you know, maybe on the fringe, maybe a friend of a friend is in these situations.
It's acquaintance.
I can't explain to people enough that there's not as much stranger danger in this world as we think there is. Most, the biggest threat to a woman is her husband or her boyfriend,
or the man
or her father, the man in her life. And it's the same thing for most individuals. There's not a lot of stranger danger, and this was somebody that was a friend of a friend.
What's funny, Lauren, is so as a retired police officer, I get a lot of people who they've reached out to me over the years. I mean, in my 23 years, they're always like, "Hey, what can I do to prepare myself to become a cop? Should I take criminal justice courses? Should I should I become a cadet or do the Explorer program?" And I always say, be a bartender, go be a bartender, because you're dealing with drunks, and some of us are, happy drunks, and some of us are just the social lubricant of alcohol. But some of us, you see the switch flips.
Yeah.
And then, and you're trying to get money from them. Ultimately at the end of the night, you serve someone 3 or 4, cocktails, you give them the bill, you'd like to get that 20-25% maybe better tip, because the customer service, when you go to a bar, it's really it's kind of an intimate, that service industry side of it. People look at bartenders like therapists. So I always would tell people, because I used to be a valet parker, I used to park cars. And so like anything dealing with people. And then the great thing about bartending is, you go not as a teacher, but as a bartender, you go home every night with tips in your pocket, cash in your pocket.
And Matt, we talked about strangers and not strangers. With your experiences with the people that you had never seen, or did you know what happened, or how did it end up?
So the one time in Japan, it was actually the bartender who, and I saw it happen, and she brought the drinks over, and I told her,
the girl. Okay.
It was a girl bartender, and so I watched her drop the pill in.
Oh, that's the worst.
She brought it over. I said, "No, you need to take that back. Give me another one." And started a little commotion. My buddy comes over and he's like, "Yo, what's going on?" And I looked this way and she'd already brought 2 drinks over.
She did it again.
And I was like, damn it.
Damn it.
And literally it was the first drink of the night, and I don't remember anything after that.
Me too.
Wow.
Now you didn't even get through the whole first drink.
I don't remember anything, whether I made it through the first drink or what, but
I was in.
So did your friend take care of you? Did he realize?
Yeah, they took me back to the hotel and got me into my room, and
where you were safe. Yeah.
Woke up the next morning, and I was just like, "What happened?"
And you were in the military at the time?
Yeah.
Do you think that was like a foreign counterintelligence thing?
Potentially.
Wow.
Man,
very interesting.
I was talking about the bartenders bringing bad drinks. I was in a restaurant in India, and I go to eat, and we're up in the mountains, so we're not in Delhi, we're not in
India. Not
India.
Indiana.
No, India.
Okay.
And we go to a restaurant, and you
could have been India.
You can't eat or drink. I mean, you can eat, but something's cooked. You can't really mess with the water at all.
Right.
We go to this restaurant. We're on the trip up to this prison. I'm going to interview some people in this jail, this 110,000 person jail. We stop at this restaurant, and I'm with 2 guys that work at the embassy from India, and they order water, and out of a 32-gallon trash can that we used to use in college to make jungle juice, they ladle a cup of water. They ladle water into a cup, put it on the table. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not drinking the trash can water. And so I said, I'll take a bottle of water. They come over and bring in a bottle of water, and it's already thin. I said, nah, I don't think so. They're like, no, I said, you just ladled the water into the
bottle.
Come on, man. I'm not stupid. I said, I'll take a beer.
Yeah.
So you got to watch those things.
So Lauren, you just came back from Mexico. Tell us a little bit about your trip.
That was pretty amazing. So I did the bar work program with Fortaleza, Adonacio, and Don
Oh,
Milano. Um, so yeah, so I was on the waiting list for a couple years. So when I got the call, I was like super excited to go, and basically took a week off of work and went down for it. And I mean, you guys probably saw some of the footage, the videos. But it was amazing because basically, it wasn't just like, here, this is how this works, and now we're going to go to the next process. We spent a day with each process, which was a 5-hour shift for each designated shift. So it was, here's how you do it, and then you're in the labor of whatever you're learning. And the cool thing about it is I've been studying agave tequila, for years now, and it's very complex, a very vast subject, and when you actually get to experience, portions of how tequila is made, and you're actually living it and experiencing it, it kind of sort of makes it all kind of come together, especially like distillation. I feel like distillation is probably the most complex part of the tequila process, and probably quite most boring. But it's just very complicated, right? You think about when they say they're making the cuts of the heads and the tails, and in my head, because I'm a very visual learner, and even as a teacher in my classroom, I was very, I wanted to give my kids an experience. I wanted to give them hands-on because I wanted them to really, learn what the ultimate goal was, right? So I feel like, until like really getting to understand what distillation is and sitting there for 5 hours in distillation, it sort of made it all come together. Like, oh my God, it, just clicked, So it was an incredible learning experience. It was also, I've known Ashley for a few years now. I think we started our page around the same time. So we've done a couple of different things together. So, but this was the first time that her and I have really hung out for, a solid week. And, we had an Airbnb together. We were together every day, all day, so you really want to be with someone that you think that you like, because you're,
yeah.
you're potentially living with this person for a week. So, and she's great. But we had a great time together. It was, it worked out, for us to be together, and, plus two, because we both kind of get the whole social media thing. And so it was nice, I got pictures of her, video, etc. And we, traded, we kind of knew what each other was thinking and what we wanted. So that was kind of nice. But it was just an incredible experience, not to mention the families. Adonacio, I mean, if you know Renee and Shasi, I don't know when you guys got to visit, if you were able to spend some time with them, but they are just an incredible family. And
Yeah.
they just really took care of us, and made sure we were fed and just everything. And I met their the mother, and she's a photographer, and just a wonderful
No.
family. So
Nice.
I love their tequila, but really being able to hang out with them and just experience who they are is, just kind of connects the brand. And again, that's sort of what my journey with tequila has been about, is I like to make connections. I like to experience it. If I think it tastes good, then I have an experience with you or a connection. It just makes it even more fabulous. So
Well, and that's segues us into actually what we're drinking tonight.
yeah.
And, it's the Antanasio, the Origins. We have the 10% that was fermented with 10% fiber. Are you also drinking?
Yeah, I brought them both out. I like to drink them side by side.
We all do. We all do.
No, I just like to. I like to. They're incredible, and I don't know. I just like drinking them side by side, because then I just like to compare them. But can I ask a question, and it like not ruin anything? So my AirPods just died, but I'm just seeing if they'll charge again. If I put them back in, is it going to stop things?
No.
No.
You sound actually, in our opinion, I think you sound a little better without the AirPods. So
Okay, so I'll just forget them then. I didn't know if it was. Okay, all right, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that was okay.
No, everything's great.
Yeah, no, you sound fine.
Yeah, I like charged everything before I came on, and then I opened up the AirPods. My AirPods weren't even actually in there. So I was like, oh my God, this is like my day. So, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
We always battle tech. We get it. So trust us.
But,
So you talk about the stuff that you had down there. At the bar where you work, do you carry additive-free stuff, and do you have a say in that?
so I am the bar manager.
Okay.
I pretty much carry the whole bar. However, I do have bosses. They own the place. So,
We all do.
and ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, money speaks the loudest, and it is not an additive free bar. I like to talk about, additive free brands, and I have my section of tequila, and anybody that comes to the bar and wants to talk to me, you're going to get an earful, some of education or experiences with tequila. But at the end of the day, they want to make a profit, so at the end of the day, my job is also to sell, but I will be really flat out with them. I won't mention brands, but Cinco de Mayo is coming up. So this is the time of the year where every rep in the business is hitting me up, asking me, I got this promo. So obviously, I want to take promos in because that is a way for us to earn money.
Right.
But this particular brand, like this whole portfolio is just garbage. And the way that I word it to the manager is that this is all garbage, but this is how much they're paying. I probably won't sell that, but I would take this deal. I probably would sell that. So, I kind of will give them like my 2 cents, like what they think, because at the end of the day, they also know that I am the one that is going to sell it. And if I don't like something, it's not going to move,
And this is a discussion that we in this room have almost daily, if not weekly.
Yeah.
You as a bar manager, and you as a person that knows the good from the bad, and you as a person that works there every night, what would you have to do in order to get additive free at the price point you need and at the quantity you need to convince your bosses? Because we talk here quite often about, I believe it probably can't be done. And also, I believe I don't want it to be done because I like the little niche that we're in. Matt and Ash believe it can be done at some scale. What would it take in your bar to get an additive free section approved by your bosses?
Well, I mean, I have many additive free brands that they don't, like when you say approve, what do you mean? Like a section? You mean like just a section or the entire bar?
Not the entire bar, enough that when somebody like us walk into a bar. So our deal here is, and this is Vegas, so everything here is different. We have a very hard time finding our big places that have additive free stuff. And we recognize it's because of money. But, and Ash and Matt talk about it all the time, we could try to work with some smaller places to carry stuff if they believe they could get money or paid from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, which I think that's kind of like BS because honestly, like let's take the brand like Clase Azul, for instance, and then Cierto. Their price points are not too far off. I purposely haven't been ordering Clase Azul or 1942, even though it's called a lot, because it gives me the perfect opportunity to say, it's been out of stock and I can't get it. But have you tried Cierto? It's additive free. It's a better brand and it's the same price.
So this is what I keep saying is that we go to a bar here in Vegas, and I don't think it's that different across the country, but I get it. Florida is a little bit more of a destination place where people have a little bit more complex taste when it comes to maybe liquor, like Las Vegas. So our point, me and Matt, and what we argue is that we understand that like there's a chain of bars here in Las Vegas called PT's Pub, and we go into PT's Pub, and the main order is going to be Casamigos. I get it. Everybody wants Casamigos in a soda water, whatever. We're not mad at you, but just give me an option to go, oh, look at that. Siete Leguas. Oh, look at that. They have
Cimarron.
I mean, like, give me some additive-free options. And I just don't think it's a money issue. I just think it's a education issue as far as people are going to come in and ask about it.
I was just going to say that, like, at the end of the day, I'm kind of rare, as far as like my bar goes. I mean, I could talk to the other bartenders all day about certain things, And at the end of the day, they don't really care, you know. So if someone orders Casamigos, it's not going to be anything to them. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like where me, like, you know, I'm, well, you know, if I have the opportunity, I'm going to say, you know, have you tried this? It's a little bit better, and it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I
But
think it's,
see, and that also comes down to your passion. So you're passionate about what you do. You're passionate about the spirits that your bar has on stock. You're passionate about additive free, like you. And you know, being out here in Vegas, like there's a lot of bartenders. They're not passionate about their job. It's just a job that they're doing.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know, if they get
I think that's
into,
the majority.
well, I would also agree, but you know, you get those select few that get into, you know, their spirits and, you know, the craft cocktails and things like that, and those people, those are the bartenders that you always want to go to the bars because they're always, you know, making something that's worth drinking.
Right. Yeah.
Do you get your Cierto at quantity enough to keep it stocked as much as Casa Azul and those things?
I mean,
You have a problem with
I try, you know, because at the end of the day, too, again, like the owners are more apt to order 1942 in Clase Azul versus Cierto. Why? Because again, they don't have the education behind it, right? So, but if I say, well, listen, this is what we should do, or what do you think about this? Or they're going to give us this much money if we take it in,
yeah.
you
So,
know?
so in that aspect, like, how receptive are your bosses to
learning? Yeah.
I mean,
Or
listen.
are they in it for the money too?
We're all in it for the.
I mean, everybody's in it, right? So,
no. Like,
I mean,
We're all.
and when I see this, it's all with all respect to them because, you know, they're there to make a profit. Do they care about the restaurant? Of course. Do they care about the bar? Yes. But they also, if someone asks for something that they want to drink, they want to have it, right? You know,
That's fair.
they don't care what it is. You know, if someone requests, I'd like a Clase Azul. Well, damn it, we should have it on the shelf. Why don't we have that? Because I'm one person in a huge restaurant. You know, not everybody's. The server's going to say, "I'm sorry, we don't have it," and that's it. That's going to be the end of the conversation. So,
Yeah, I totally get that. That's, I think, where I just want to say, I see that obviously you're going to stock the big brands that spend the money on the marketing, but as a tequila aficionado, somebody who understands the niche, the artisanal, the mom and pop shop made stuff, you know, I just want to see a couple options. And I don't care,
yes.
like Lauren, tell me I'm crazy. Like, have you guys gone out and just run down to like the Bevmo and bought a bottle of Clase Azul if you're out of Clase Azul? Like, I mean, like a restaurant will go run down the street and buy just to have it in stock if they're running low, just because
I'm not going to say that because that's against the law. I mean, it's against your license, but
yes, okay, thank you. That's all I'm saying is like, or just go to the distributor. Yeah, like
also
go to the
too,
distributor.
also too is that like, you know, what makes our bar unique is that we do bottle service, not like a Miami bottle service, Vegas club kind of thing, but more like your Cheers kind of bar where can I have my bottle and people are sipping on their tequilas, right? But when people will have a request, hey Lauren, can you find?
So there's one thing I want to ask you, Lauren.
Sure.
The biggest issue that I have, and you tell me how you manage your bar and your bartenders, I get looked at like I'm crazy whenever I ask a bartender if they have any additive free options. Is it that hard to educate the bartenders on some of those options?
I mean, at the end of the day, no. It's actually, you know, it's a pretty relatively simple concept, but you know, and maybe the manager, the owner's eyes of you know the director of the bar, those aren't the most important things. You know, maybe that bartender's still trying to learn how to make a cosmopolitan. You know, I mean, so you know there's so much more to it. You know, and like my bar gets super busy. I have to take care of service, tables, the bar, bottle service. You know, there's a lot of things being thrown at me all at once, and sometimes people want to ask me about 10 different tequilas and I am in the weeds, So,
Yeah.
but the thing is that I think a lot more bars, especially agave bars, are trying to curate that type of experience. I know that I'm doing some consulting work for a new tequila bar up in Jacksonville, and they wanted to model it after our bar, but they wanted to model it after me. So basically, when the time comes, I'm going to be training the bartenders. We're going to get them all CRT certified because, right, those basics right there is really how you start to kind of get all that implemented. I mean, it's very possible. You just kind of have to start at the top. And if everybody is not on board at the top,
Then it doesn't matter at the
it
bottom.
doesn't matter, because again, this is me preaching to the choir because this is what I go through. I mean, the other bartenders are really good about saying, you know what, Lauren would know about that. Or have you met Lauren? You should come on one of her shifts because she knows a lot about tequila, so, they're willing to learn, but, I can't blame them for not wanting to learn. Again, it's, I'm very passionate about tequila, just like you guys are. I'm very passionate about my bar. I take my job there very serious. When I show up, it's tequila time, and
it's business. It's business.
yeah, and this is my life. I mean, everything that I do in my life is, revolved around tequila. So not everybody, those girls don't live the tequila life I live. So it doesn't matter that much to them. So I can't get mad at them,
It's got to be one of those things where it's organic in the sense that I go to a bar and it's a bourbon. If it's a whiskey bar or a bourbon bar, I can't get pissed when I walk in and they don't have Fortaleza, they don't have Don Fulano, they don't have the stuff that we want. But at the same time, like I agree with what you said in the sense that if it's an agave bar, if you're creating something that's centered around agave mezcal, I do expect you to have. You need to know. You need to know a little bit of subject matter.
You go to bars that say tequila in the name,
right?
Yeah,
and they still don't know. That's a disservice.
Well, shame on them.
We know by looking, we would know.
And that also comes down to the individual too, is whether or not they're passionate about. I mean, for like I said before, it could just be somebody who's, hey, I just want to be a bartender. Like,
I just want to make some money and get the hell out.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, it starts from the top. I do a lot of work for brands all over the state, and like it's even when like I'm trying to put a tequila, like make a placement in a bar, and there's a tequila place right down the street from my house, and they have Cuervo, Dobel, Milagro, Lobos, 1800. I mean, we're talking like
all shit tequila.
Admit you want to firebomb them every time.
I have a brand in my hand they've never heard of. And if I said to them, so they were like, well, I like to drink mezcal. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What's your favorite mezcal? Casamigos. And I was like, dude, that's not mezcal. That's not mezcal. Okay. Yeah. So right away, I know I got a lot of work to do. That tells me I got a lot of work to do. Right. But even with me saying to them, listen, I would come to your bar and actually drink at your bar more often. If you would at least take in my product, I'll drink it. I'll come buy it back from you.
Yeah, right.
It was a flat out no. They're just not interested. They were not interested.
Yeah.
So, and also too, the funny thing is that they're Mexican and they're looking at me like, what is this white girl?
Yeah, know about tequila.
And what's she gonna tell me? And I get that. I totally get that. A lot of people get upset that I go to Mexico and I don't speak Spanish. So I mean,
but I find it
that makes two of us.
I find it interesting that when we're down in Mexico, we're in tequila, and for like talking to the distillers, talking to the people who are in Mexico in the tequila world, they're like, Mexicans don't care. Like everyday Mexicans don't care. They will drink Dobel, they'll drink Cuervo, they don't care. And I just find it so interesting. It's like, it's like bourbon fanatics being like, I don't care that, so-and-so's great granddad tied to Thomas Jefferson snuck the bourbon over the river. It's like, dude, this is heritage. This is like, and here, like, it's like Grover and Scarlett. Like some white folks from the U.S. are trying to like really speak out about the artisanal process, and they're getting fucked with by the Mexican government. It's like it blows me away. Like why are all of us gringos so into this artisanal?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's not
it is funny, it is funny. But I was going to make a suggestion too that like, the bars that you guys are frequenting that don't have the choices that you want, you know, bar managers most of the time are very receptive to hearing like, hey, listen, I love coming to this bar, but like, could you get Siete Legos on the shelf? It's actually a pretty cheap brand to put on the bar back. It's
yeah.
not, or the back shelf. It's not an expensive brand. And that would probably be satisfying to you. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, we have places here in Vegas, especially in our downtown area, and then the Arts District, which is also in that downtown core away from the Strip. The Well Tequila is Cimarron. We have several
yeah,
places where I'm like, perfect. Like I'm going there instead of the other place. I'd rather drive out of my like little area of the west edge of Las Vegas and drive down to the center because hey, that's what they've got there.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Do you, Lauren, see it changing? Do you see the landscape changing where people are going to become more educated and start producing some of these things we'd like to see produced?
I mean, I think it is changing. I think we're in the middle of that. Like for instance, I was at a restaurant over the weekend and there was they also own a liquor store, and on the receipt it said at the bottom was a coupon to get Magenta, and right under Magenta, what do you think it said?
Additive free.
Free. Yeah, and I laughed because I thought this is a Flanagan. Do you know Flanagan's, right?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Flanagan's is like a mom and pop, like they just have like the basics. They have,
They got Bud
the
Light.
basic portfolios at the bar. I don't ever expect to go there and buy a good tequila, and I don't want to. It doesn't matter. I don't, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I was so funny. I was like, even Flanagan's liquor store is on board with. I mean, that is the biggest buzzword, right? Additive free. I mean, brands are not even additive free are saying that. Why? Because that's what
Yes.
everybody
Well,
wants to
we've had
hear.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing now is well, I bought this at Total Wine. They said the sign said that it was additive free. I'm like, okay. Just because they say it's additive free doesn't mean it's additive free.
I mean, and again, that comes with the education, but like, again, too, I have to also remind myself not to be so hard on other people too, because we all come from somewhere, some background in tequila. I mean, I used to like Casamigos. I thought Casamigos was great. I mean, this was 6 years ago. And so like, I'm not ashamed to say that because it shows how much my palate has evolved, right? I mean,
And Matt
the
and I
first,
say that all the time.
yeah, I mean,
Because
I used
we
to drink
started off
Patron,
at
and
Paramount.
and younger in
We
the
did.
clubs, it was Patron, and then at my bar, it was Milagro because the original owner I worked for, she was so smart. She would buy every case of Milagro in the state, and we were the only bar that would carry it. You know why? Because we were selling something that everybody thought was amazing, and this was 20 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
Milagro, I used to drink Milagro like it was water. So
And 20 years ago, it might have been a little bit different. It's
it could have
before the
been, yeah.
conglomerates bought them up. It was before Bacardi came in, before these multinational corporations came in and bought
Yeah.
them up.
And
Well,
back then too, like, it wasn't until like I became a bar manager and I became so curious about tequila that you start learning like, oh, wait a minute, that product's made at Cuervo, and then you start tasting it again, and all of a sudden you like, it's a
Flavor
process.
profile.
Yeah, I mean it's a process. So like I love at my bar like just doing that education and just be like, try this, and letting them see for themselves. It wasn't until I knew that Casamigos was bad that I was like, oh my God, this is bad. Like all of a sudden I tasted
Right.
it. I realized, yeah, you're
So,
right. This is so sweet. Like
yeah.
I can't drink this anymore.
But this is so, like one of my favorite things to do now is when I have time or I'm on the weekends, I go to the big box liquor store, like here in Vegas, it's Total Wine. And I go in there and I go straight to the tequila section. And I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have Total Wine where you're at. I'm sure it's a Costco of liquor.
Yeah.
And it is death by 1,000 choices. You have so many choices there, you don't even know what to look at. And I walk in there and inevitably there is a person and they're staring at this entire wall of tequila. And the lady from, and I get it, she works there, she gets incentivized I'm sure there's a system of payback or kickback. Oh, this is they're always pushing their Spirits Direct stuff. And it's every single Spirits Direct is garbage. And I finally will walk over to the guy and go, I have a tequila podcast. I know a little bit. Do you need some help on some things? And every person is like, yes. What do I do? So like I had a guy the other day, he was going to buy like something from the Cuervo world, like Centenario. I said, no. I go, sip. And then the first question I always ask, sipping or mixing? And they're like, I'm sipping. And I ended up pointing them to Arte Gnome 1414 because for one, I love the distillery. We've been there. You know, Matt and I were there about a month ago. And I finally had the Arte Gnome a couple weeks ago on my birthday, and it's just so amazing. I go, look, you cannot go wrong. And I think it was only $15 more than the bottle they were buying. And the guy was so thankful. Or the lady comes in, she's like, I want to buy something I want to make margaritas. It's me and the girls. I go, here, don't put that 1800 on the shelf. Here's a bottle of Cimarron for 1 liter. It's only $5 more, and you get a whole full liter. So it's really the same cost. And it's such a more quality product. That's like my new favorite thing to do is to go into the liquor stores and point people towards what. And it's kind of like what you're doing at the bar. Like, here, try this, sample that. You don't want to do this. Try that. If you like this, you'll like this one better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of talk about the big box, and I talked about earlier tonight. I think it might be changing because I bought G4 for $33 at Costco yesterday.
I can't even believe you have G4 at your Costco. Listen, if I could only buy tequila at Costco, the only brand that I would buy would be a Patron. That's like everything else is just. I mean, there's nothing there. I can't believe you got G4 there. I think, Matt, I saw it on your story, right? Or something.
Yeah. So we have G4 and we also have the Siete Leguas Reposado and Añejo at the Decatur location.
Which at Summerlin.
And Summerlin
and
too.
Summerlin too.
So, I walked through and I was like, need to share this reel real quick because... it's nice to see those.
I think that's a big move.
It's nice to see these bigger stores carry those kind of brands when you're so used to having the Don Julio. Yeah.
Of course, it's a sign on it that says only take one.
No. At Costco, there's no.
There wasn't.
There's no sign that says you can only take
the
one.
whole box.
At the Decatur location, there's probably like 40 or 50 bottles of G4. And
that's a Blanco at $33?
Yeah, that's what I got.
I mean, Blanco, that's my cost.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm saying. It blew my mind. Blew my mind.
And that's the thing. But again, we have seen. I've been watching. I track a lot of Costco stuff online, and there's a lot of. I love Costco. It's my favorite. It's like it's my Disneyland.
I know.
Yeah. So, but for like years, I've been going to Costco. In the last couple of years, as we've been down the additive-free rabbit hole. I always would walk through, and I'm like, one day I'm going to round the corner, and it's not just going to be the Don Julios and that couple weeks ago, sure enough, I round the corner, G4, $33.99. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, bottle. And then I was wearing, it's funny because I was wearing the G4 t-shirt that we got from the G4 tasting here in Vegas that Matt grabbed me because I forgot about it. Long story short, I check out, I go to the little manager's podium, and I see a guy who looks like he's a boss. I go, are you a manager? He goes, I'm like an assistant to the regional manager. I go, thank you. He goes, for what? I go, G4. I point to the t-shirt. He goes, oh, is this your tequila? I'm like, I wish this was my tequila. I go, I met the guy who owns this tequila, but I wish it was my tequila. And I said, thank you. Let your manager know that this is like, and I kind of gave him a 30 to 60 second schooling on like, hey, 70% of tequila is garbage. It has additives. It's blah, blah, blah. This is good stuff. He looked it up. Yeah, we'll be probably ordering more in the future. And then within 2 weeks of that, Siete Leguas is now on the shelf. So I think that the message is spreading in the world that people, especially people in the liquor world who are around alcohol and the distribution of it, are starting to learn like, oh, there are some really well-made tequilas that we need to start stocking, and you don't have to spend a ton of money.
Well,
You don't
I
have
will
to
tell you
pay.
guys, you have to remember social media is the magic, right? I mean,
Yes.
we saw that happen with the
Yeah.
Batanga, right?
Right.
I mean,
That, I
I
mean,
was with that
Tango Week.
entire group
No,
on
that's
a
all I.
band saying, hey, listen, when everybody gets back, everybody make a batanga. That's as simple as it was, just make a batanga. Everybody post it. And like, I mean, in a matter of days, you saw what happened. I mean,
Changed my life.
yeah, I mean, but if
Changed
you
my
think
life.
about that, a lot of tequila brands have taken their marketing money out of marketing and are putting it into social media influencing because it's making a difference,
Right.
And that's what we're going for.
And yeah, exactly. That's
I
what
mean,
we're doing.
whether you like it or not, social media is powerful and not always good ways, but some evil ways too. But
Yes.
I mean, but like, what I'm trying to say is basically like, I think people are trying to be more aware of. I had an influencer that I'm friends with, and he's like really big, but he's texted me about a brand. He's like, hey, what do you know about this brand? He's like, I'm trying to be more conscious of brands, tequila brands I'm working with. So, you have to appreciate that at least. I mean, I know for me, a couple, I won't say them, but a couple big brands, asked me for my media kit and asked me to do some work. And I declined politely. I just was like, I'm so sorry. I just don't think I'm the platform for you. And at the end of the day, that's kind of hard because,
Yeah.
that's my life, it's my money, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
but I want to be authentic to who I am and what my pages represent. And if I came out speaking about some rain, everybody would be like, what's going on? So
Yeah.
so I think more people are, I think the change is happening. I think we're in the middle of it right now.
Well, and in with the, turning those brands down, like as, like a platform like ours or a platform like yours, if you're more organic and accepting of, a bunch of brands, whether additive free or non additive free, like you're going to get a totally different aspect as opposed to when you centralize or focus on those brands itself, because now those brands kind of control you and they say, no, you can't do the business with this brand or you can't do the business with this brand. So if you're more organic and you're more, allowing of all brands, you have a better opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, what you want your page to be. And I mean,
right.
But I also think it's an integrity issue where if you can say no to the big distiller, what I call basically agave Everclear, they're making agave Everclear. They strip it down with, water and additives, and then they sell it for a bunch of money versus what some of the other small distilleries are doing. I think it's just an integrity issue where, like, bravo to you, where if you can say, no, I'm just not interested in this. I know the money is good, but I just don't believe in that product. That's the hard part, I think, and especially with social media, because social media, my fear is with social media is we always tend to get into, you kind of see it with big box media. Everyone's in their echo chamber. Everyone kind of wants to believe what they want to believe, and I have to constantly remind myself, like, oh, they say it's additive free. Is it additive free? How do we really know until I try it, sip it? I'm like, okay, I can clearly taste, like, this is artisanal. This is vegetal. I'm not getting the overwhelming oak or the cinnamon or the sugar. And so I just think that I think it just comes down to integrity, where at the end of the day, if we'd be tempted, or if somebody came to us and said, hey, we want to give you a bunch of money, and when you guys talk about our big box tequila, now we've got the road to cross. It's like, now what?
well, I mean, trust me, I'm still trying to think of how I could spin it to say yes,
Yeah.
But most of the time they want a review, they want you, and how do you review something that, I mean, but at the end of the day too, it's a new product from this line. So I haven't tried it, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
You can always spin it. You can always. It's like you're a manager and somebody puts you as a job reference and the reference calls and you're like, she's always on time. She works. You can find something to say.
Right.
See, that's the problem.
Well, I was going to say my biggest regret with social media is that my handle is all inclusive to tequila and agave, right? I mean, it's pretty much love and tequila. So I can't, I could talk about bourbon if I want to. I did a paid thing last year for a whiskey. I mean, but like these other guys, like they were smart enough to make it like their name, like where they could really, maybe they just want to talk about additive free tequilas, but if they want to talk about shit bourbon, because there are shit bourbons out there.
Yeah.
They totally could. None of us are going to be like, oh my God, you see that so-and-so's talking, like.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Oh yeah, I was down the shit bourbon rabbit hole myself before I was, rescued by the goddess of agave.
That's a good one.
So I believe it was 2 trips ago to Mexico. How was it with the Cascaween bottle? And did you? Nice. So did you share it with your?
Yeah. So this is what I did because Matt was so nice enough to get me this bottle. I just had to go pick it up. So I was with Cascanes and we had like such a booked trip. But I kept saying, well, hey, we're going this way. If we pass by Cascaween and basically Kevin just hangs his hand out the door, can I just grab it, So it worked out because there were a couple other people that wanted to go to Cascaween too. So it just kind of worked out. It was kind of like, quickly get your bottle and let's go. But then they ended up opening the distillery and letting us come in and hang out. So, but the funny thing is, Matt, that I'm such a I like to share. I do. But when it comes to like bottles of tequila, it drives my husband crazy because I'll come home and I'll be like, oh my God, this bottle. And then he'll be like, all right, let's open it. I'm like, I'm not opening this. And he'll be like, why?
We are all
it was
the same
a big thing for me on the bus. I was like, should we try it? And I was like, all I could think about was like, you shared it with me. I was on a van with there was probably 8 of us all together, and we had gotten close over the last 3 days, and I couldn't think of anything nicer, but to share something so special with the guys on the board.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So it was nice, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it ended up being. I actually want to make a reel about it.
Awesome.
Of course, we all were filming it. So, but it was it's nice.
If somebody asked me to share a bottle of my Fortaleza, then that's just a hard no. I don't care who you are.
See, for me,
what the situation is, hard no.
See, for me, I'm actually because we're supposed to do a bottle share on the 26th
tomorrow, Friday,
and I'm actually considering lot 150 because I have two bottles of 150. I'm like, why not? Because there's my shelf that I have, and there's probably most of the bottles are unopened. There are a few that have been opened. There's definitely some winter blends that have been opened, and I'm ending those winter blends soon. But for the most part, the majority of the bottles that are on my wall, they're all unopened. There are a few signed bottles, one by, Renee, the 10%. It's bottle number 2 out of the batch.
Oh, mine's signed too. Which one?
And, I have 2 signed by Felipe. I have 1 signed by the distiller for the Cascaween bottle, which I got for you. As it grows, that's the thing. I just want to kind of get signed bottles, and
I've started to change a little bit this year. That Lou Agave during COVID, he started. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. He was opening everything, everything. He was like, "You can't take it with you," and it was like I wasn't quite where he was, but I've gotten there because I'm like. I do. First of all, I'm outgrowing my space. I keep outgrowing my space because I have bottles everywhere. And
by the way, we'll take any that you want to send.
Well, I'm trying to be a little more conscious that, like, you know what, it's okay to open up a good bottle. You know, Carlos
Yeah.
Camarano.
No,
Which
I was sitting at a
I'm gonna
table
go
with
get a bottle of.
Carlos. What?
I said no.
Which, by the way, number two sits on the shelf, but this is 325 out of the batch, so I'm okay opening this one. But the number two is, maybe at some point it'll be a special occasion type thing, but for the most part, that one will sit there for. Hey,
My
I
son,
want this to look nice.
my kids are already born. My special occasions that are that level are done.
What
Well,
bottle
I
number
do
do you
have a
have?
funny story that Carlos Camarano told me. I was sitting at a table with him and I was like, I don't like to open special bottles. And he was like, well, the thing is, if you don't open your special bottles, your kids will. And I was like, oh my
Bastards.
God. I totally, and because I could totally, that would be something that I would do, when I was 14 years old.
My
So,
kids actually did that and filled it back up with water and rubbing
Yeah.
well, that was his point.
Why I
That was
had
his
to
point.
Yeah, that's so true.
Which is why I had to build the
alcohol cabinet for me because my kids
the
drank
cabinet that has
all my
RFID
alcohol.
locks and
An entire 10 bottle was over the course of however many years and however many kids were there.
But I kind of agree with Lauren in the sense that I'll open a really good bottle, but I want it to be like it's like a beautiful night. We had a fire on the porch. My kids are home from school. I don't mind it then. I like the story. I like the experience. I would but if I'm sitting on the couch watching, Netflix, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like this day's wrapped and I'm just having a couple sips and I'm, it's the wife and I just sitting there watching TV. Am I going to open up, my Ford? I'm probably not.
No.
I would.
But I will,
No.
I got my G4, I got Siete Legos. I do have my other options. So
what are you bringing Friday night?
That's a good question. I'm not bringing Fortaleza. I know that.
What are you bringing Friday night?
It's still up for debate, so I have a few options.
We're going to a thing Friday night, Lauren, where we are probably exchanging, opening.
So it's a bottle share, and it's so Tommy, who operates the Las Vegas Tequila Club.
Okay.
The guy that did his magnets for the launch, it's going to be at his house.
Yeah.
We're going to go. We're going to do a bottle share, and
needless to say, no one's bringing Fortaleza.
Well, that's not certain.
Well, the last time I went to a bottle share, I will, from now on, when I do that, it will be with some rules. And it was just a random, like, someone's house. It wasn't like a club or anything. Like, I brought some good stuff, and you know what everybody brought? Like the Skelly bottles from, what nom is Casameister? I just went, forget their nom. It was like every pretty bottle from that distillery.
Yeah.
Everybody bought those bottles, and I was like, what the hell?
I'm going to stop. I'm going to get a bottle of Fulano, the good stuff, and I'm going to bring that. I'm not messing with the stuff I've already got in my house.
Yeah, because what ends up happening is, what is a bottle share? It's somebody's attempt
to get their hands on your good shit.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm hosting an event at the house, and then.
But either way, how do I educate people without bringing some good stuff?
They're into tequila. They should know.
They should know.
I'll get a good bottle. I'm not gonna I'm not bringing,
What are your thoughts, Lauren?
Go ahead, Lauren.
How do you feel about that?
Well, but if it's the Tequila or Vegas Tequila Club, right? I feel like that's not true. That's not true.
Yes.
But I feel like there should be a disclaimer that. But see, that also too, you have to remember. So the group that I was sharing with, these people thought they were bringing something to impress me because it was a pretty bottle, right? They really did. They were like, don't. What did you think about this? Isn't this nice? But meanwhile, I didn't have the heart to say it all comes from the same place, guys. It's it's all garbage.
All the same stuff.
But I didn't have the heart to say that because they went out of their way, to feel like what they thought was a nice bottle to share. Meanwhile, what I brought was something more about what was inside the bottle, the juice,
Exactly.
So it all is whose perception, that's kind of hard.
All right, Lauren, you want to go ahead and
So before we close it out, tell us about the two expressions that you're in collaboration with.
Well, okay, so you mean like the blends that we made in Mexico in this last trip? Okay, so it's not really like a collaboration, but like, so one of the cool things that Don Villano, because Don Villano's distillery, as you guys probably know, they're kind of known for their blending, you know, how they married like different barrels, different ages. So we had this experience where we learned about how they blended. So we had a bunch of bottles, about 8 bottles, um, three of each expression, three of each expressions, and we basically had to make our own blend. So this was the blend I made, and I could kick myself because they had little sample bottles that the last day we had a luncheon with like Sergio Mendoza and Guillermo, and they brought all of our samples, and they were allowed, you know, everybody was trying them, right? And there was like a lot left over. And they're like, "Do you guys want these?" But like, I didn't take mine because, like, for not for nothing, they gave us a koa.
Nice.
Wow.
It was like super heavy. So I was worried about my suitcase, right? So I was like, "Oh, I don't want to take that." But I wish I would have taken it because then I could have sent out samples, right? Anyway.
Right.
So, but my blend was an high proof extra añejo.
Wow.
I forget the reposado, and then a blanco that was very lactic. I like the lactic funk. I just love that stuff. So I did a blend of that. But Sergio made a joke that I had the most expensive blend ever made by the bar work program.
That's awesome.
60% of it is the was it the extra, an 8-year extra añejo. So it was probably
wow.
or something. But yeah, I thought it was super good, and it's the cool thing is in the box they give us. So the box like has my name on it, and then inside is
it's nice.
Wow.
That's
the
awesome.
blends that I did. So it was it was a 50.6 ABV extra añejo.
Wow.
That'll do it.
And see, like when we went to Extete with Renee and his daughter, I tried a Peralta I think it's a 110 extra añejo.
It's super good, right?
It was phenomenal. Loved it.
Peralta is such an underrated brand. It's such an
agreed.
It's like a very good price point. Like we make exceptional. I mean, it is G4's baby, but I mean not G4. I mean Pandio's baby, but
yeah.
And so for your bar that you manage, how many different additive-free tequilas do you have?
I mean, I have probably 85% of our tequilas are additive-free. I mean,
Nice.
we have classics on the shelf that like. So we used to order, like for instance Don Julio. We used to order a Blanco Repañejo, right? 2 in stock all the time. Now I only order Don Julio Reposado and maybe a Blanco if I don't have Patron or Herradura Silver on the shelf. So that, I mean, it's changing, but you know, like I said, they want it to be where if someone asks for something, not everybody wants to hear what you have to say, Lauren. Just get them what they want, you know. So.
Well, we do appreciate your time, and
I have one last question. I have one last question, Lauren.
Yes.
You piss off the government, and you're like Napoleon. You're going to get exiled to an island off the coast of Florida, and you only get one tequila for the rest of your life. What tequila would you pick?
Okay, so I've already visioned out this question.
Thank you. Me too.
Because I get this question a lot, and so I've thought about this, you know, extensively. I actually made a post about it once. Okay, well, are you talking just one expression or just that brand? Anything that brand makes?
Anything that. We'll just go anything that brand makes.
No, that's too wide.
Or we'll get 2. How about 2?
You get one expression to go with you. You can't just give an entire line. That's not fair.
Okay, so I have to say G4 Blanco then. Or I have to say actually G4 108 because I don't know.
Cool. Very nice.
I don't know. G4 is just like, I guess like.
G4 Blanco.
I don't know. Like I love Fortaleza Still Strength is one of my favorite tequilas. I could drink it all night. I could drink the bottle by myself. Like I love that expression, but I just love G4. I feel like it's just like, one that I constantly kind of think about. Like it's one I go to always. And if I had to die and that was my last choice, then I guess so be it. That would be it.
Same as me. G4 still is what I would take.
So to caveat on that, would you say that you are a high proof tequila drinker, or what is your favorite expression?
I mean, I just told you I made an extra añejo high proof. So no,
I mean,
I'm a high proof drinker.
For those viewers that are tuning in, and they just want to know.
No, I'm definitely a high proof. And that's something that my palate's just grown into. Like now I have to rate tequilas. I have a scale now where I have to either rate them safe or high proof because I want the funkier, the better I like it. The higher the
Right.
proof, the like it. When I was at Ignacio, Renee gave me a 70 ABV. And I'm not gonna lie, it was fucking phenomenal. Like it was so good. I mean, it was 70 ABV. I'm not gonna drink that. I mean, I could.
We had a nice little expression, and he did the over shoulder pour like he does.
Yeah.
I think we tried that.
But I mean, talk about the flavor. I mean, I just feel like I like the high proofs. There's more complexity. There's more flavor. You get the earth. You get the agave, the field. You just kind of taste all the essence of like what agave is, and so yeah.
Well, and you get the actual base of the tequila.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get the watered down version. You don't get the aged expression. You get what comes off the still. That is what the tequila is, and that is how it should be. You get all those flavor profiles right off the still, as opposed to once they water it down, once they put it in a barrel, you'll start to get the other flavor profiles, but the original flavor profiles of what the tequila actually is, that's what you get.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably those are my favorites. That's what I drink more of. So
awesome.
And by the way, thank you for the swag box.
You're welcome.
I'm so sorry that USPS damaged the box on the way. Had to open it right away in order to make sure none of the tequila samples that you did send, were harmed.
Do they all make it?
They did make it. There was a small leak on one, but I ended up sampling that one just to make sure that it was okay, and it was okay.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Lauren, how can we find you on social media?
So I'm at Love and Tequila, LOVEIN Tequila.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
if we're ever in Boca Raton, what is the bar?
My bar is actually located in Deerfield Beach. I'm about an hour south of West Palm Beach and an hour north of Miami, but it's called Baja Cafe Dos.
Nice.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, thank you for your time, and we appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thanks, you so much, guys. I'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.